right. Thank you everyone for attending tonight at this beautiful evening. I'm glad that so many of you found your way here today. I want to talk with you about how to get started in consulting, investment banking and private equity after your study here in Maastricht. And I will do like a 45 minutes presentation and then we can continue with Q&A. I think that's the most important thing tonight. My name is David. I am co-founder of Pumpkin Careers with Pumpkin Careers. Pumpkin Careers is a consulting, career consulting company I co-founded with my co-founder Jonas 5.5 years ago. And over the last 5 years, we worked with over 2,500 students from all over the DACH area. A lot of them also studied in Maastricht, so I know a lot about the curriculum in Maastricht and the problems you might have with finding an internship in the summer because you don't have so much time. So we will also talk about that. And the thing is, I guess you will rarely or not be able to find someone who has spent so much time in the last years working with students like you, with students who are ambitious, who want to break into consulting, banking, private equity. And over the past 5 years, we have learned so much and we have seen so many similarities between the students. And I will try to give you the most important things that we have found out in the last 5 years tonight. As you can see on our website, we have a lot of testimonials as well. We also have like very good statistics from our coaching programs, for example, from our track programs. Over 60% of our alumni start their career at one of the top companies in management consulting, investment banking, or private equity. Amongst our consulting track members, over 30% start their full-time position at McKinsey, Bain, or BCG. So that's it works what we are doing. That is what this is supposed to say. And the secret for our success is that we do not only work with like our own experience, but we also work with different coaches who have worked in investment banking, management consulting, private equity, who studied at top universities. And as well, we definitely have a very good network amongst management consulting firms, investment banks, and private equity firms. So we are very well educated about the application processes of those firms. We know what they are looking for. We know what they like, what they don't like. And I will try to give you as much as insights as possible tonight into the application process and the requirements for the roles at the top firms. The problem with top firms in every area, but also in consulting, investment banking, and private equity, is that it's extremely competitive to land a job there after university, because there are so many people who want to join those firms, because those firms are very prestigious. So if you land a job there, it's very good for your career, even if you don't want to work in investment banking or management consulting long term. You have the chance of receiving a really great salary. You have really interesting to-dos in your daily tasks. So there are a lot of applicants. A lot of firms receive over 100 suitable applicants per open position. So the competition is really high, and especially, unfortunately, in today's economic situation, things are even getting a little bit worse at a couple of firms. So, of course, like some consulting firms who focus on restructuring, they are definitely hiring at this moment, but in private equity and in investment banking and at a lot of other management consulting firms, currently there's like not the ideal situation for job entry. Maybe you can wave your hand. Who of you is still in your bachelor's degree? Okay, It's like definitely the majority for you. So for you guys, it's not that worse, but if you're currently in the end of your master's degree, it's definitely not the perfect market timing, unfortunately. But nevertheless, the following still applies. You have to get those 5 criteria you can see here as high as possible before you finish university. You need to study at the best possible university, and I think you guys with Maastricht are doing very good in this part. You have to write good grades, you have to show commitment besides university, for example at Scope or at a student consulting club. Possible you can get scholarships, and then last but not least, you have to get internships. And the internships are the thing that are the most important. If you have bad grades but you land good internships, that's fine. If you study at a bad university but you get good internships, that's also fine, as long as you have those internships. But the 4 criteria on the right side, they help you get into good internships. And you have to strategically build up your internships if you want to break into the top management consulting firms, if you want to break into the top investment banking firms. Because there are different kind of firms. There are like easier firms to get into, and then there are harder firms to get into. And you can look at it like a pyramid. In the beginning, there are a lot of different firms you can do your internships. The big four accounting firms, for example, small consulting boutiques, startups, small to medium-sized enterprises. There it's really easy to land your first internships, and then you have to work your way up. And especially in Maastricht, where you can only do more or less 2 internships in the summer, and even that's a little bit hard. You have to, if you want to break into the top management consulting firms or the top investment banks after your bachelor's degree, you really have to level up really fast. So for you guys, most often, what I would recommend if you really want to break into McKinsey, BCG, JP Morgan, and so on, you will have to do a gap year, because it is nearly impossible for you guys, unfortunately, to get like the perfect internships during your bachelor's degree. Maybe for some of you who already did a gap year before starting your bachelor's degree, and maybe there you landed a Big 4 internships, then you can get like a Tier 3 consulting internship, for example, after your second semester, and then you can get a really top tier internship after your 4th semester. But for most of you, especially if you struggle to land an internship after your first year here in Maastricht, it's nearly impossible to break into the top firm. So what I would recommend for you guys is a gap year. And for the gap year, what's really interesting is that if you do your gap year right, it doesn't even matter if you have any internships done in your bachelor's degree. Even if your grades in your bachelor's degree weren't so good, you can then you can write a really good GMAT, and then nobody cares about your grades in the bachelor's as much. So the gap year is really recommended for everyone who hasn't who started a little bit later with the internships, with writing really good grades, and it still opens up the possibility for you to break into the top firms. The limiting factors of how high you can go after your master's degree are mostly your A-level average, your bachelor average. Of course, if in your high school you had really bad grades, and in your bachelor's degree you also had really bad grades, then of course that's a limiting factor. If you didn't have any like stay abroad, that might be a limiting factor, but you guys, if you study in Maastricht and aren't from the Netherlands, you already have the studying abroad checkpoint in your CV already. And then there are limiting factors like your extracurricular commitments and your internships. So I would recommend everyone for you to plan doing a gap year before starting your master's. And for that, what's really important, for example, this is like a time plan on how to structure your gap year if you will graduate in Maastricht next year in September or August. What I would recommend is you do 3 to 4 internships in your gap year. So 4 internships would be like for the very, very ambitious amongst you, and 3 internships would be still totally fine if those internships last for 3 months. What's really important is that you have to start planning that gap year very early on. So I told you earlier that we started Pumpkin Careers in 2020. In 2020, it was normal to apply for an internship. If it wasn't at the absolute top investment banks, it was normal to apply for an internship 6 months in advance. And for consulting, you could also apply like 3 months in advance, and that would be totally fine. Currently, what we are observing in the market is that a lot of more people are aware of internships, so there are a lot more applications in the market, and the companies also realize that. So the companies, they fill up their slots far more in advance. So I would recommend to apply at least 6 to 9 months before starting your internship, maybe even 12 months in advance. So you have almost no disadvantage in applying too early, but you have a lot of disadvantages in applying too late. So I would definitely recommend, if you want to, if some of you guys finish your bachelor's degree in 2026, you should apply for your first internship in your gap year in Q1 2026. And then you get the, you sign the contract for the internship. Then you can put it in your CV as an incoming internship, and then with this internship in your CV, you can apply for the next internship, and then you apply for the next internship. So that's the second most important thing for planning your gap year. You should never apply for all your internships at one time. Besides those gap year internships programs, for example, Bain & Company have a gap year internship program that's called the Power of 4. There it is obviously recommended to apply at once, because with one application you get all your internships for the gap year, and the Power of 4 internship gap year program is a really good gap year program. But if you just want to organize your internships by your own, I would definitely recommend to apply one after another, so that you can level up your internships. Because a lot of people, they do the mistake, they apply for all the internships at the same time, and then all the internships they will do are obviously at the same level, because every internship is on the same level like the first one. But if you apply then one after another, then you can level up, and I will show you in a little bit what I mean by that exactly. Besides the applications for the internships, you obviously have to apply for a master's degree, and also that should be done very early. But because the advantage of selecting your master's degree until, for example, September, is that you have enough time for the preparation for the GMAT and the TOEFL possibly, and then you can apply for a master's degree until January, for example. And that's very recommended, because you can apply for your master's degree until May or even June at a lot of universities, but then it is often much harder to get into the good programs. If you apply at the first deadline, which is most often in December or January, all the places are still open, so it's much more easy to get into very good programs, even if you don't have such a good GMAT, even if your internships aren't that good. So I would definitely recommend to plan your master's application also very early on. And then the last thing would be to apply for scholarships as well. So then in your master's degree, you can also do like 1 to 4 internships, and then you are definitely ready for entering the job market full time. As I already said, you have to level up your internship, and the following 3 factors are the most important to planning and strategically advance with your internship. The first one is that you have to know your sweet spot on the job market. What we often observe is that students have no idea, and it's not your fault. How could you have an idea? That students often don't have an idea of where they are standing currently on the job market, and which companies are better and which companies are worse than others. So for example, I often hear students, they ask me, David, where can I apply for an internship? And then I ask them, and they say me, I don't get any invitations for interviews. And then I ask them, where did you send your applications to? And then they tell me, I applied to BCG, I applied to PwC, and I applied to Deutsche Bank. So those three firms are completely different. So one is a top management consulting firm. BCG, you can apply at BCG if you have done like 2 or 3 very good internships. If you have really good grades, then you can apply at BCG. PwC is like an accounting firm where you can complete your first or your second internship. So you can maybe even complete an internship at PwC before starting your bachelor's degree. And Deutsche Bank is like a finance firm that's completely different type of company where you need different internships for. And if you don't know your sweet spot, you don't know where you have to apply, then it's really hard to write enough applications that you still have a good chance of getting an internship, an interview even. For us, for our coaching members, especially in this current job market where it's really hard to find good internships, it is not unusual that they write like 40 or 50 applications and receive only 2 invitations for interviews. So you have like a conversion rate sometimes of less than 10% of your job applications. But that's all right if you write enough applications and if you convert those interviews you're getting. But a lot of students, they only write like 5, 6 applications. And if you get like 2 or 3 interviews with 5 or 6 applications, you definitely didn't raise the bar high enough. So you should definitely aim for like a conversion rate of 10 to 15%. Like if you know your sweet spot and if you apply to the right companies. And what I would recommend to you guys is that you, for example, what we did, so in our coaching program, we have company lists with hundreds of companies which are rated from a rating of 1 to 25. And how did we do that? We scraped hundreds of LinkedIn profiles and analyzed where everyone did their first internships, their second internships, their final internships before breaking into the top consulting firms, before breaking into the top investment banks. And by doing that, you can see pattern if you're just doing it long enough. So you can, of course, either come to us in our program and you get everything, or you can do it by yourself. Of course, you need to spend a lot of time by doing that, but then you will get a feeling of how different companies are like compared to each other. And then you can see the pattern. Where are people usually doing the first internships? Where are people usually doing the second internship? And so on. And then we would recommend you to find your sweet spot, find all the firms that are in your sweet spot, and then write like 30, 40, or even 50 applications. And then, considering you write very good applications, you have a really good cover letter, really good CV, no errors, the formatting is on point, then you will receive 4 or 5 interviews, and with good preparation, you will definitely convert 2 or 3 of those interviews. So this is for example, I told you guys about the rating system in our coaching, how that would look like. Our rating system is like rating number 1 is the worst company. It's like very small startups that we recommend someone, for example, who has really bad grades in high school, who wants to do his or her first internships. Then we would recommend him to apply to those small, very small rated firms. But for example, for you guys, if you finish your bachelor's degree in Maastricht and you have done none or maybe 1 internship at no known firm, then for example, your first internship could be at a rating 9 company. That would be like advisory at a big like a big accounting firm, for example. So a management consulting internship at PwC would be like rating 9 or rating 10, for example. Then you will sign that contract, you will put it into your CV as an incoming internship, and then you can apply for the next internship. And for that internship, you can aim a little bit higher. Then you will apply to like tier 3 consulting firms or in-house consulting firms or management boutiques that are in this rating range. And then you have this internship, and then you apply for the next one, and so on and so on. And your goal should be, at least if you want to join the absolute top tier firms as soon as possible, then your goal should be to always increase the level. So of course the interviews will get harder and harder every time, and you will get more and more your applications will get declined more and more, but that's also that's totally fine as long as you get at least one interview and you convert at least that one interview. Yeah, so that's like the most important thing for your gap year planning. Maybe if you guys have any questions, we can cover a few of your own like profiles, and I can give you concrete recommendations where I would suggest you guys to apply for your next internship. With Pumpkin Careers, we have like a big training in our coaching program aimed at exactly that problem. So we have like hundreds of video lectures from all our different coaches covering internships, master's applications, GMAT, getting good grades at university, getting scholarships, and so on. Then we have at least 6 weekly live calls. They are via Zoom, and you can come there every day and ask all your questions if you have any questions. And then, of course, we have a really great network with over 1,000 students who are currently enrolled in our coaching programs, and you can connect with them. You can benefit from their experiences. For example, if you get an invitation for an interview, you can it's almost guaranteed that you have a couple of other students who are also in our program with whom you can discuss which questions you will get asked and so on. And your advantage is that you don't longer have to work with Google. You don't longer have to be unsure, is this the right preparation, or should I do it like this or do it like this? Because we have worked with so many students, and over the last 5 years we have always like updated our content, so it's always up to date. We have like 2 different programs. We have the masterclass program that is for the first internships, because for the first internships the level of those interviews isn't that high, and then after you completed your first couple of internships, you can move on into either the investment banking track or the management consulting track, where you have more advanced interview preparation and where we will also help you to convert the internships that you are doing, because that's also really important in investment banking, consulting, and also private equity. Most of the top firms primarily recruit from former interns, so it's really important to also have really good performance during those internships. The pricing of our coaching, or for example, first the side note, if you aren't aware of that, in Germany at least, but also in Switzerland, Austria, and so on, the internship salaries are currently around 2,000 euros per month, sometimes a little bit higher, sometimes a little bit lower. Some students, this article is in German, unfortunately, some students even get over 5,000 euro per month in their internship, and the cost of our program is 170 euros per month. So it's around 2,000 euros per year. Of course, it's like not nothing, but for you guys, it's like less than one semester fee of university. And as a lot of, almost everyone in our coaching receives an internship very fast, the return on the investment is also very fast there, and especially if you think about what you can gain from getting an entry position at the top management consulting firm, what you can gain from getting an entry position at one of the top investment banking firms, which start at like 70,000 euros per year and go on up to over 100,000 euros per year. I think 2,000 euro per year for 1 year membership at our program is quite fairly priced. And if you have additional questions regarding that, feel free to reach out to me or to us via our website, via LinkedIn, via Instagram, and so on. And yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing some of you guys' profiles, maybe about hearing about your goals, so I can help you individually in a Q&A right now. Thank you very much.